My name's Erica Osmon, and I wrote my paper over sexism, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'd just like to start out by saying that women have come a long way since the 1800s, and they now have gained the legal right to vote, and they also have the legal right to own property. They have the right to have a legal claim to money, and they are employees to earn that money. They can get a college education anywhere they please to get any job that they want, and there are also many women employees and many powerful women in the world that are bosses and powerful people in our world today. In 1869, there was an organization that came together called the National Women's Suffrage Association, and the main goal of this organization was to gain women the legal right to vote. And in 1920, on August 18th, women did get that legal right to vote, and today it is known as the 19th Amendment. And actually, Wyoming was the first state to give women the right to vote, and they were also the first state to elect a woman governor. And back then, because of all these changes that Wyoming made, and they were trying to give women the equality that men have, they were known as the Equality State. But despite the fight that women have put up, we are still not equal to men today. Sexism is an issue, and women are in a battle with it every day, everywhere. Three main topics I'm going to talk about is, number one, the pay gap that women have, and also the sexual harassment that women go through on a daily basis, and also the media portraying women as inferior to men, number one, and also just sexual objects and that we're put on this earth for men. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the pay gap, and it is statistically proven that for every $1 that a man makes, a woman will only earn 79 cents. They can have the same education, they can go to school for the same amount of length, they can go to the same college, They can have the same experience, they can do the same internship, it doesn't matter. For every $1 that a man makes, a woman will only earn 79 cents. And I have a PowerPoint picture showing that here, these one man and one woman went to school and earned less than a high school diploma, and women only earned 80% of what men made. And then you move up to a high school diploma, and women only made 77% of what a man made. And then you move up to an associate's and bachelor's degree in college, and women went down to 75% of what men made. And then we move up to an advanced degree, and women only made 74% of what men made on their salary. So women are they don't really stand a chance because they're almost punished for getting a higher education and going the extra mile and spending all this money getting an advanced degree, when in the long run they're still not going to make as much as men make. Another topic I'm going to talk about is the harassment issue that we have in our world. And it is proven that 90% of women will be harassed during their years as an employee, which is a very scary number. 90% of women will be harassed or have been harassed in their years as an employee. So if we have 90% of women being harassed, why is this not such a serious issue that we're taking into consideration? And the answer to that is that women are pretty much inferior to men. The men are the bosses, the CEOs of the companies that we work for, so we can't really go to them and push this topic because they don't understand. And many women actually face sexual harassment alone because of this. They think that if they do go to a higher up power, then they're going to lose their job, or they're going to be made fun of, or be harassed more by the men that they work with if nothing is done. Because in many cases, a woman will go to her male boss and talk about the issue of sexual harassment that she's having, and he'll call in the male employee, and they'll probably joke about it and not take it seriously. So then the man will go back to that woman employee and probably sexually harass her even more and make fun of her for this. So, and then in this case, some women don't go to their boss over sexual harassment because they think, well, maybe I acted on, or maybe I was the one that wasn't firm enough in saying no, and they feel guilty and they feel like they put it on themselves, which is not the case in most issues. So harassment is any unwanted verbal phrases that are said, or any unwanted touching, or just really any extra attention on someone that isn't wanted. And an example of someone that was sexually harassed on the job was a woman named Barbara Trees, and she wrote an essay and an article over this, her experience, and it's called Like a Smack in the Face, Pornography in the Trades. And her essay was about her, and she went to school and did her studies, and she was a carpenter. And she talked about how obviously carpentry is a more male-based industry, so she worked with 95% of her employees were men, and she felt very unwanted in her work field because she was unwanted, because men thought she wasn't cut out for this job, she didn't have what it takes, and so they actually tried to scare her off, and they did many things to make her quit because they didn't want those women in the carpentry industry. So things that she talked about in her essay was that the bathroom facilities that they had didn't have doors, or if they did have doors, they didn't have locks, and they weren't private from the men. And they also talked about how the changing rooms and the facilities they had to change and shower in at the end of the day didn't have doors, or they had open windows where you could see in, so the men would be watching them shower and change. And it was just disgusting what she talked about. And the way that men talked to her and the other women employees was hard to read, honestly. And she also talked about there was naked pictures of women hanging up in all the men's lockers, and that the men would post these naked pictures in clear sight for the women to see, so that it would aggravate them and it would want to make them leave. Men were very violent to the women if they did something wrong, or if they said something that they shouldn't have. And women also said that the men would tell them that they couldn't handle the job if they were to say something or complain about any of the jobs that they were doing. The men just said that they couldn't handle it and they shouldn't be here. And the women did want to prove themselves to the men, saying that, I'm here, I can do this job, but the men almost made it impossible. They were touched inappropriately by the men, and when they went to the boss about it, they were fired because the boss didn't want to deal with it. It physically made her sick and depressed living in this lifestyle, and the men and the harassment that she went through took away the one thing that she loved, which was her job and her carpentry, and she couldn't do that anymore because of those men. Another topic I'm going to talk about is the media. And since the media has grown over the years, there are magazines out there, and the music that we listen to, the TV, the movie shows, everything that the media does. Everyone has a TV nowadays. Technology has grown. Everyone watches movies, and they see how the women are portrayed in the movies. And in a lot of movies, the women are kind of portrayed as sex objects. They're put in skimpy outfits, and they have tall heels, they have their makeup done, their hair done, they have large breasts. They're kind of just trophy wives for the men. And an example would be the movie Wolf of Wall Street. We have this successful man who works on Wall Street, and he has this beautiful wife who's always in small dresses and high heels. She has her makeup done, her hair done, and she's a housewife, and she is there so that Leonardo DiCaprio can take her to all these fancy events and show her off and prove that he has a gorgeous wife that'll do anything for him. And she, in this movie, is just a housewife. She doesn't have a job. She just is there to take care of the house and do her woman duties. And in a lot of movies, this is the case. And the men can do whatever they want because the women don't have any money, and they are there for the reason of being a housewife, and that's it. So if they said anything to the men about their actions, then the men would just threaten to divorce them and leave them with nothing. The media also uses women in commercials to advertise certain things, and they're frequently seen in bikinis or tight-fitting outfits. And an example of that would be the Hardee's commercial, where this woman is put in a bikini on the beach with her cheeseburger and her Hardee's drink, and this is the Hardee's commercial that is out there on TV today. Another example would be the Sports Illustrated magazines. that are very well known to many people. And that magazine is just filled with half-naked women on the cover in bikinis, and I have a picture of that as well. This was a cover of the Sports Illustrated magazine. She had a see-through top on and a small bikini bottom, and it kind of just gives women a sense of that's all they're good for. If they don't have a good body, then they're not going to make it in the world. And if you do have a good body, then it just says that this is the only thing you'll be able to do in life. Like, you're not, the women's body is just the only thing that's useful to her. And in other cases, the media puts men in charge, as if a woman were to step out of her place or step out of line, then the men would violently put them back in their place. And you can definitely hear that in many rap songs today. Just phrases that the men will use about putting the woman back in her place. So yes, women have fought and battled, and they have overcame many obstacles and succeeded in many things, but we still have a ways to go. The battle is not won until women are equal to men. We still have a pay gap. We still have inequality in the workforce. We're just treated inferior to men. Women are still sexually harassed on a daily basis, and we're portrayed as sex objects, as if we're nothing but a pretty face. So until these problems are solved, sexism still stands and causes a real issue in our world today. Something needs to be done about this, and women need to come together and fight for what they believe in and take their stand against the men and not be afraid to take their stand for what they do believe in, so that we can overcome all these different obstacles so that women can become equal to men. And that pretty much wraps it up. So I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
In the next few years, do you think that sexism will end? And do you think that women will ever be equal to men?
I think women do have a chance to become equal to men, and I do think sexism can come to an end. It's just the matter of the women coming together and standing up to the men and fighting for what they believe in, because many women just think, I don't stand a chance. The powerful people in our world are men, so I can't do anything. I can't stand for what I believe in. I'm not going to be able to overcome these men and get my way. But I do think that, yes, if women come together and really fight for what they believe in and take a stand, then sexism can end and women can become equal to men. But it will just be a long, hard fight.